Welcome to America's Heroes Group.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Welcome to America's Heroes Group Roundtable with partner Katz Milanec. It's Saturday, October 29th, 2022. October is Breast Cancer and Mental Health, National Disability and Domestic Violence Awareness Month. I am Vietnam veteran co-founder and host Cliff Kelley.
Yes, it's the impeccable Cliff.
Thank you.
And today I'm his co-host, Colonel Dr. Damon Arnold. The executive producer is Glenda Smith, and the digital media producer is the incomparable Ivan Ortega of Scouts Honor Productions. And today we have a special guest, David Milanec. He is a CPA and president and founder of Katz Milanec Incorporated and a military family member. Today's discussion is going to be focusing on incomplete filing from September's and October's tax deadlines. What are the next steps? And this is an expert, so you better listen. Grab your pens and your pencils and listen closely to what he has to say. How are you doing, David?
Oh, I'm doing great. Always a pleasure to be on with you guys. As you know, we just had the extension filing deadlines. So individuals, C corporations, S corporations, and partnerships, also trusts, if you had that, were due all within the last roughly 45 days. If you didn't file, there's still time. You may end up with some penalties, but sometimes there are ways to get out of that. And if you find yourself in that situation where you're dealing with penalties, we can often help you get rid of those. Give us a call, 708-914-8220. We can help you out with that situation.
Let's say that number again one more time.
708-914-8220.
Fantastic. Okay, great. So what do you see as the problem? What is the problem with people not filing? I know you're mentioning that you may end up having more of a liability or tax penalties that are going on.
Right. So if you missed the filing deadline, whether if you didn't file an extension that was back in March or April, or if you did file an extension, it just happened just a few days ago. The biggest deal with that is, depending on, so if you're an S corporation or a partnership, there is a $200 per shareholder or partner per month penalty. So right now, and each part of a month is considered a full month. So on September 16th, for a partnership or an S corporation, it was a $200 penalty. On October 1st, it was a $400 penalty. Now you wait a couple more days. November 1st, it's a $600 penalty. And it's just going to keep racking up $200 per month. For individuals and C corporations, it's a 5% penalty for the total amount of tax you owe. So the good news is if you have a refund, then you wouldn't have to worry about it. You would just get your refund, but you only have a certain amount of time to claim that refund as well. You only have 3 years from the date the return was due to claim a refund. If you try to claim it after that, you won't get it. But if you did owe, or if you do owe, and you file late, well, as of today, you've got a 5% penalty. You wait 2 days, it's going to be 10%. You wait until December 1st, it's going to be 15%, and on it goes.
Fantastic! Wow, it's incredible that's a heavy liability, especially if you have a corporation that has multiple partners. That's, you said per person.
Yeah, per member or per partner shareholder. Or per shareholder.
Yeah,
it's going to be $200 per month per. So if you had for example, 10 partners in an LLC or something like that, that would be a $2,000 per month penalty.
Wow, that's a lot.
We can often get you out of that penalty though. So if you find yourself in that situation, give us a call, 708-914-8220. Again, 708-914-8220. We can help you take care of that.
Fantastic. So what else do you want us to know about this tax season? Right now we're hitting this record inflation. I mean, we're almost at 7% for, home ownership, and there are a lot of things that are going on that are going to, I imagine, would be making it more complex in the tax arena, for people who are going to file for this year and then, going into 2023. But, what advice do you have for people in general about their tax situation? What should people be thinking about? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right. So right now, in my opinion, this time of year is the best time to start formulating your tax plan for 2023 and for the end of 2022, right? Mm-hmm. So I was talking to an individual the other day. He was talking about, well, right now I'm an employee, but I used to be a contractor with this same company, so I'm thinking about, going to my employer and saying, hey, I want to be a contractor again, and what's the impact that that's going to have? Well, we went over and we analyzed that, and we figured out that he was more interested in being a contractor than he was in being an employee. So that is something you may want to make a decision about. I know right now a lot of people are out here doing this gig economy work with like Uber Eats, Instacart, DoorDash, Uber, Lyft, all the rideshare things, all the delivery things. If you're doing that, even Turo, the car rental one, I don't know if you've heard of that one, but Turo's you can rent people's cars. Okay. If you're doing these things, you are actually in business for yourself, whether you realize it or not. And if you don't plan your taxes appropriately, you will end up hit with what's called self-employment tax at the end of the year. That's 15.3%. It's like your FICA taxes. So when you work and you have a W-2 job, you pay Social Security and Medicare tax out of your wages. It's only half of the tax that you pay out of your wages. The other half of the tax is paid by the employer. Well, when you're self-employed, IRS says, okay, well, now you're the employee and the employer. You have to pay both halves of that tax all at once at the end of the year on the tax return. So if you make $50,000 net income as a self-employed individual, in addition to paying your $5,000 or so of income tax, you're also going to have to pay $7,000 of self-employment tax. Now, I know how to get you out of that. We incorporate you. We file a form with the IRS, a Form 2553. It's an election to be taxed as a small business corporation. When we file that form, that self-employment tax disappears. You never see it again.
Wow.
And so we can make that go away. And if you're in one of those situations, you're in a gig economy job, you're renting cars out with Turo, whatever the case may be, you're an employee and you were a contractor previously, and you decide, you know what, I want to go back to being a contractor. We can help with that stuff. Give us a call, 708-914-8220. Again, 708-914-8220.
That's a lifesaver for some people who are out there, because generally, if you're doing things like Uber and Grubhub and all that, you're trying to actually make ends meet because you're trying to do something on the side, other than your regular employment. So, or if you're a student, that kind of thing, you're just trying to get by with making some money, and that could be devastating to you if you and to turn around and you don't realize.
Absolutely. even on a $20,000-$30,000 profit, you're going to get hit with. On $30,000, you're going to get hit with almost $5,000 of self-employment tax.
Wow.
And that's, again, on top of whatever income tax you have to pay. So these people, if you're doing a 1099, like you said, you're probably trying to help make ends meet, and you're just trying to get by, and all of a sudden you're getting slammed with a tax bill at the end of the year that you had no idea that you're going to even be dealing with. Well, we can help you get out of that. So definitely, if you're in that situation, give us a call, 708-914-8220. Again, 708-914-8220. We can help you avoid that big tax bill, but you got to get incorporated by December 31st to make that happen.
Okay, so that's a deadline, then a hard deadline at December 31st. So you can't go into the new year not having done this.
Well, you can, but if you go into the new year without being incorporated, then you don't then you don't have an entity for the year. So
Yes.
if you don't have an entity in the year, how could you make money through your entity in the year? Right? That's
right.
logical.
Yeah, that's
And,
right. That's right. Yeah.
Can't make money in something that didn't exist.
Yeah.
So we can make all the money flow through the corporation no matter how it's reported to you. But we have to make the corporation exist by the time the tax year is done, so that we can file it on the tax return, so that we can file a tax return for it in the next year.
Yeah. Because people, when they're doing their finances, people aren't always cognizant of how they're spending their money and what the implications of that are. And I'm thinking, during the inflationary period, people are going to be spending more money and not necessarily tracking things accurately. And I could see where this could be an extremely formidable problem for someone, for the example that you gave, where you end up with a $5,000 tax liability at the end of the year and you have nowhere to pull the money from.
Yeah, I mean, this is actually a classic problem that a lot of owner-operator truck drivers have. They deal with bigger numbers, of course. So we're talking like they end up with a net income of like $100,000 to $110,000, and nobody told them that they were going to have a tax liability. So all of a sudden, at the end of the year, they're sitting across from their tax preparer, and their tax preparer is telling them they got a $20,000 tax bill.
Boy.
You do that 5 years in a row, and all of a sudden you got a $100,000 tax bill. I've seen it happen many, many times to many, many people. Now, I can typically help a lot of those people get out of those situations. First off, a lot of times when you got that situation, a lot of times the tax preparer in question is not necessarily taking all the deductions they could, and they're certainly not smart enough to advise, get that corporation and make sure you file that election so that way you don't have to pay self-employment tax. Because if you're looking at a $20,000 tax bill, about $14,000 to $15,000 of that is self-employment tax, typically. So we knock that down to where the same amount of money you're paying maybe $7,000, $8,000, tops $10,000.
Yes.
But that's a lot less of a burden than 20 to 25, especially if you're having to figure out how you're going to come up with it all of a sudden at the end of the year.
Right.
But that's another thing that I like to help people with is getting their taxes planned right. So if we look at it ahead of time, we can figure out what you're going to owe. And then when tax time rolls around, at the end of the day, we're going to be able to say, okay, you have to pay this much money in here, this much money in here. And by the time tax day rolls around, you're not wondering how much am I going to have to pay. You're wondering, am I going to be at a net zero balance or am I going to get a little bit of a refund? And so with business owners, especially business owners who have dealt with this headache for many years, it's almost a relief to kind of hear those words and hear that kind of that promise, and we can deliver on that. So if you find yourself in that situation, again, please give us a call, 708-914-8220. Again, that's 708-914-8220.
Let me also mention that David is a CPA for some very close friends of mine, and is highly recommended his service. He's brilliant, and I have dealt with him before.
Mm-hmm.
So this is not just somebody that we saw in the newspaper or whatever.
Right.
I mean,
What an ad.
yeah. No, this gentleman is really got it together, and I say that, David, because I've got friends, as you well know, that have used your services, and once they do it, what do? They come back for more. So
Oh yeah, I know you've referred seveul people to me, Cliff, and quite a few of those people they track me down no matter what. You know, they do not want to go to anybody else.
Yep.
So I'm happy to do it, and you know I can do that kind of stuff for anybody. It gives me a good feeling to help people in these situations, because you take somebody who thinks, oh my goodness, my life's ruined, I don't know what I'm going to do, I have no hope, and you give them a new sense of hope and a refresh, like a new look, almost a new outlook on life, and it's a great feeling to be able to do that for people.
Yeah, you know, it's almost a sin for you to put all of your life into having a business and developing a business and putting things into perspective, and you know you're trying to build a future and you know income, and then not to take the time to think about the things that you need to do, the foundational things like calling, you know, David Milanec, right? And you know that telephone number 708-914-8220 can be a golden key.
That's right.
It's one of the things that can actually help for you to go into the future without having so much angst and worry, because I can tell you, when you were saying that, my blood pressure was going up, and you were talking about, you know, $20,000 per year for 5 years. It gets to $100,000. That's with penalties, right? I mean, that's not just.
Oh yeah, no, that's going to accrue penalties and interest and everything like that. But the good news is, a lot of times we can amend those returns. I've taken somebody that owed, you know, $150,000, and I've knocked them down to through an offer in compromise, I've done that, and I've knocked somebody down to about $500. But when you're talking about amending tax returns, you can take $100,000, $150,000, you can knock it down to $5,000 to $10,000. I've done that frequently.
That is, I mean, what you talk about relief?
Yeah, no, he can do it.
Well, it's a game changer, and like I said, it gives them an entirely new outlook on life, right?
Yeah, I mean, that could be the difference between your business surviving and not.
That's right.
Absolutely. And I've seen it happen a few times before.
Yes, yeah.
No, let me give you a phone number again, too. 708.
Oh, yes.
708.
It's 708-914-8220. Once again, that's 708-914-8220. We're Katz Milanec. We can help you plan your taxes so you don't have to worry about them. Give us a call. We'll get you taken care of.
Yeah, do you have a website as well that people can go to?
Yeah, it's katzmilanec.com. KATZMILANEC.com. Also, while I'm on, I did want to mention that we are doing a inaugural, because this is actually our first year in business. So we're doing an inaugural food and coat drive through our company, and if you go on our Facebook page, you can actually see we have a flyer up about it. Basically, anybody who wants to bring in food and coats and whatever, we are collecting those donations at the end of the holiday season. We're going to be giving it out to local charities in need of such items. And if you guys actually could, after the show, if you could give me a veteran charity that you would recommend, I'd be happy to give some of these items out to them as well. And the big thing that I do want to say in there is that whatever individual or business is able to donate the most through this program, we're going to give that individual or business a $500 gift certificate toward services in our firm.
Oh,
great.
That is fantastic.
Yeah. No, no, he's a great guy. He really is.
Yeah, thank you for and that really means a lot to families, especially right now. We were talking about the inflation, and people are going into the winter right now, and they're trying to figure out, how am I going to feed my family? How am I going to put a toy, under a tree for my kid? How am I going to, celebrate Hanukkah? How am I going to celebrate, Ramadan? How am I going to celebrate my usual things in life? We just came out of this nasty 2 years of COVID, and, people are starting to get to the point where they can come back together to a degree. And, to have this financial weight on you is like a killer. So to have people like you, collecting food and doing a food drive and a coat drive, that is life-saving for many of these people. So I want to commend you on that.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's just one of the many ways we try to be a good community member, try to give back to the community, and we're a business, but we're not only a business. Our goal primarily is to help people at the end of the day, whether that's through our services or through any other things that we can do to impact the community. So, I mean, it's not the biggest thing in the world that we're doing, but any little impact that we can have, you never know. And I'm a big believer in the saying, you save a life, you save the world,
Yeah, and we actually have a global reach on America's Heroes Group, so people from other states, I guess, can call you, or people locally within Illinois.
Anybody, you can go on our website, get our address, or on our Facebook page, get our address. You can mail it in. We work in all 50 states, and we'll be able to do work for you in all 50 states. So that's not a problem at all.
Great. Okay, again, 708-914-8220 for the great CPA, David Milanec. And thank you for being on the show and saving people's lives. That's what you're doing, actually, by what you're doing. And we're going to go to a commercial break, and we are going to be back very shortly. America's Heroes Group is still going strong. You got one more show.